What follows is a presentation for third years and transition year students and parents on subject choice for senior cycle in the school. So it's video format. If there's information that you need to go back over, you can obviously stop, rewind. If there's stuff that you're not happy with, you can obviously fast forward. I will start on a positive note. Just remind students, parents, something we all know. Motivation is a better indicator of academic success than IQ. It's not about intelligence, it's about work ethic more than anything else. And I think it's worth, especially students heading into senior cycle, reminding them that that's the situation. So if you're focused, if you're disciplined, if you're actually putting in a little bit of time and effort and taking it seriously, then that stands to you well in terms of your academic performance. There's 5 websites worth looking at: Guidance Office, Curriculum Online, Qualifax, Careers Portal, and then finally the CEO. So the Guidance Office website is my own. That's where most of the information about subject choice is held, and it's updated on that website. The NCCA website is Curriculum Online, and that's where the detailed information about specific subjects is maintained and kept there. Qualifax is a national database, so if you have a specific question about a specific course or college and what do I need in terms of my subjects or grades in my subjects to get in, the search engine that you use is found on Qualifax. That's where the database is held. Careers Portal is extremely useful when it comes to videos. So it has a wealth of resources there available around subject choice as well, but it has close to 700 videos where you can see what a guidance counsellor does, or what a GP does, or what a beauty therapist does. And one of the questions that they ask of each of the people being interviewed is, what subjects did you take for the Leaving Cert? So students find that quite useful. And then the last website is the CEO applications website. That's for students who are more interested in directly going to college post-Leaving Cert, just to get a head start on that process. So if you go to the school website, the Guidance Office part of the school website, so there's a link to it on the main page of the school website, right hand side. It'll bring you into the guidance department, which allows this website to pop up. You're looking for the third tab across the top, which is subject choice. So when you click on that, there's a range of information available. A copy of this presentation is here, but that's already been sent to students via Teams. Teaching and council requirements for post 2023 is there. Information on Project Maths, matriculation booklet. I've also put in a senior cycle cheat sheet. So if you just want to fast forward the process and say, well, I want to do law, what subjects would you recommend? I want to do medicine, what subjects would you recommend? You can look at the cheat sheet. I've also put a short presentation in on the Leaving Certificate Vocational Programme, the LCVP PowerPoint, very short, brief, just a quick overview of what LCVP might offer students. So students have done junior certificates, so they have a number of choices available to them if they haven't already done transition year. Choice 1 is the traditional Leaving Cert, which is English, Irish, Maths, the core subjects, plus 4 optional subjects. The next choice, very popular obviously, is transition year for students who want to take a break or try something new between junior and senior cycle. LCVP is essentially an additional subject. It's taking the traditional Leaving Cert with one extra subject. It's essentially a business subject. As I said, there's a quick short presentation available on the website if you're interested in it. Most of it is through continuous assessment. There's a portfolio that you gather together over the 2 years. There's a CV in there. There's a recorded interview in there. There's a report on a visit out to enterprise or industry is in there. The exam itself is put on the first Wednesday in May, so it's the first exam to be actually the Leaving Certificate to be done and dusted, like almost a month before the June exams begin. So students find that, as I said, it's a bit of a business program, sort of a little bit of a watered down business program. And for students who have business, it's a bit of a walk in the park. For the students who don't have business, it's a way of gaining some business-like skills. If you do the traditional, or you do transition year and go to traditional, and you add LCVP or don't add LCVP, that leaves all the options open. You can look at all the HEIs, the higher education institutes, the universities, technical universities, and private colleges, and you can look at the FETAC level 5, which are basically the PLC colleges. The 2 most popular PLC colleges for here are obviously the Dunboyne and Cavan, so going north or going south. If you do take the Leaving Certificate applied, the only options are to go for a PLC. Now you can go directly into an apprenticeship, you can go directly into employment, but if you're looking at going on to further education, then you're sort of confined to the PLC route. So the junior certificate, every qualification in Ireland is between a 1 and a 10. The junior certificate falls in a 3, the Leaving Certificate applied is a 4, and the traditional Leaving Cert is a 5. If you do a PLC after the traditional Leaving Cert, we usually refer to as a full level 5, so a VTAC full level 5 qualification. Okay, this is the dreaded point system, no surprises, you can have a look at it. So 90% above on an honours paper is a H1, all the way down to an 06, which is 40% or above, a pass or above. On an ordinary level paper, that will give you 12 points. So you can see the stark difference between the points you accumulate between an honours and ordinary paper, which is why students are advised to do as many honours as they are able to do, whether it be 7 or 8 honours subjects or 1 honours subject. The more subjects that you have, the more your points will accumulate. Now, if you score 30% or above on an honours paper, that's a H7, you will get 37 points for it, CAO points for it. The 25 bonus points, though, only applies to honours maths and only applies at the H6 grade. So you have to get 40% or above on an honours maths paper to achieve the additional or the bonus 25 points for honours maths. Now, LCVP, that additional subject that I mentioned, is marked differently. So it has the same marking language as they use for Leaving Certificate applied: distinction, merit, pass, and then unsuccessful. 80% or above will give you the distinction, 66 points, and so forth and so on. You can read that there yourself. The foundation level maths, again, a little bit different. Some of the colleges, the technical universities, will award you points for foundation level maths, but only at the F1 or F2. Again, only 20 or 12 points. So one, you have to ensure that the college will accept foundation level maths, and then number 2, you have to ensure that if they accept it, they'll actually award points for it. Some colleges will accept it, like Maynooth, you could do law with foundation level maths, but they won't give you points for it. So basically in red there, just ensure it's recognised by the college that you're actually applying for, and they will or will not give you points for it. So this is an example in the real world of a points calculation sheet. There's a student who's done English, Irish and maths, their core subjects. They've got their 4 option subjects after that. Their grades are turned into points. The H1 is 100 points, the O1 is 56 points. You'll notice for the maths, you get the H3, which is worth 77 points, but because it's above the 40%, you get the additional or the bonus 25 points, which pulls you back up to 102, which explains the sort of huge rise in number of students taking honours maths for the Leaving Cert. Your points are again simply based on your best 6 results. So I take my best 6 results from whatever number of Leaving Cert subjects that I'm presenting, I add them up. In this case, the student got 458. That's a pretty good Leaving Cert. So whether you need a subject or need a particular grade in a subject to get into a college, that's for the college to decide and to look at. But when it comes to actually calculating your points, what were your points for your Leaving Cert, it's always your best 6. End of story. Okay? So the conditions are best 6 for Leaving Cert results are for points computation. It's a single sitting in the Leaving Cert. So if you did the Leaving Cert this year, did Leaving Cert next year, whichever was your highest in terms of points, that's the points that you have. Foundation level maths, watch for the points. It's normally the F2 or F1 is where the points are awarded, so you either get the 20 or the 12 points if it's acceptable. Foundation level Irish, colleges do not recognise it, and colleges do not award any points for it. And then lastly, if you are interested in medicine, you must present your subjects and your points in the same year for medicine. That used not to be the case, but it is the case from now on. Okay, I think about college, going into college as passing through 3 doors. So the example we're going to use here is MH101, which is the arts degree in Maynooth, which is Maynooth's, it is the most popular arts degree program in the country. It's one of Maynooth's biggest programs that they have, and it's probably the most popular for students from this school over the last years. So door number 1 is general entry requirements. What do I need to get into the college in general? And now if I'm in the college and I'm looking at a faculty or I'm looking at a particular course, is there anything specific that course is actually looking for? So if I want to do engineering in that college, do I need a laboratory science subject? Do I need a certain grade in maths, or do I specifically need a certain grade in honours maths? And then lastly, once you've gone through door number 1 and door number 2, door number 3 is your points. Do I have enough points to get into this course for the college to accept me? Because obviously there's going to be more people applying than there are places available. Okay, so Arts Maynooth, you must present 6 subjects. If you do 7 subjects and 7 honours subjects and you failed 2, you could still achieve, in theory, 525 points if one of them was honours maths, but you're not going to Maynooth, because Maynooth say you must at least present 6 subjects. 2 of those subjects must be H5s. You must pass English, Irish and a modern European language, honours or ordinary, but you must be presenting a pass in those. That's the minimum requirement for the Maynooth University, the NUI Maynooth. In the arts programme there's no specific requirements. And then lastly, students' points are calculated, and what happens is Maynooth has 1,300 places available. So what they will do is they'll take everybody who's applied for that particular programme in Maynooth, and they will line them up from the highest points person to the lowest points person. Highest points person might have, in theory, 625 points. Lowest point person might have, 25 points or whatever. So they go from number 1, they count their way down to number 1,300, and number 1,300 this year had 338 points. So when you see the points for a course, it means that the last person in, the final person admitted to this course, that's the points they had as the person at the bottom of the list. If you're looking for specific subject requirements, Qualifax is the way to go. The front page of Qualifax, you see there the green triangle with the magnifying glass. That's the bit where you can search for individual courses. So you can actually go in there, you can put in the course that you're interested in, or look at the particular college that you might be interested in. You can narrow it down to geography, you can narrow it down to points that you're hoping to achieve. And then you'll see a list of courses. You click on the list of courses, you'll get loads of information, but one of the bits of information that you get is the entry requirements for that particular course. So if you want to know, if I want to do engineering in UCD, what do I need? You go to Qualifax, search courses, put in UCD, put in engineering, have a look at the couple of courses there, click on one, and then see in black and white in front of you, what do I need for this specific course? That's the way the database is used. You can also use it in this way. So you've got the Parents and Family tab across the top, click on that. Left hand side, Useful Tools, click on that, brings you this minimum subject requirements, click on that. You're looking at senior cycle, so pick leaving certificate subjects, click on that, and then you can search via subject. So you could put in, I'm going to put in here a modern language, you could put in honours maths, you could put in sort of chemistry, just to see what courses might or might not require the specific subjects that you might be interested in. So for the modern language requirement, which is the one that people probably talk about most, you notice out of the 1,600 plus courses in Qualifax, only 159 actually require the third language. Now it might be the course that you're looking for, but it's 159 out of 1,600 courses require a language. If I click on that, it'll give me the list. Sometimes it's a bit odd. NUI Cork, actually, their accounting degree actually does have a third language requirement. So sometimes you can't reconcile the requirement with the course. But so it's always worth double checking the Qualifax website. If you do click, as I said before, if you click on an individual course, you'll get the course name, you'll get the name of the college, and a link directly into the college website, which is quite handy. The 5-digit CAO code. Minimum requirements you need, because this is a university, you need 2 honours, 2 H5s and 4 passes. And then on top of that, obviously, you need a pass in Irish, English, maths, a third language, and then 2 other subjects recognised for entry purposes. All of our 19 subjects we offer in the school are recognised for entry purposes. Now, if you go to the link on the top of this page, which will be on the PDF that was sent to the students, that brings you to the Careers Portal website, their Subject Explorer page. If you click on each of those subjects, construction, engineering, physics, it brings you to a page which will give you information about the course content, the way the course is actually taught, the number of students who might have achieved H1s or H2s on this course nationally last year. So there'll be lots of information explaining what actually goes into making up a Leaving Cert subject. Now, the influences on subject choice. Maybe we need to talk a minute about these. First is there's no such thing as an easy or difficult or hard subject. So if a student finds maths easy, then maths for them is easy. Some students are very proficient in maths. Some students, find it difficult to manage basic arithmetic. It's not necessarily about the subject. It's more likely about the person's aptitude or interest or attitude to the subject. So for example, one of the highest subjects last year, or the subject that achieved the most H1s and H2s, was Russian. But obviously the vast majority of people who were applying for that were probably native speakers or fluent speakers in the language, so you would expect them to be sort of achieving high grades. If you look at, say, applied maths, the number of students there would be a high percentage of students there would achieve very high grades. But again, there are students who are probably doing honours physics and or honours maths. At a lot of schools, applied maths is an after-school subject, so those students are pretty motivated to be taking on that subject anyway, and that sort of translates into high grades. Be careful about the teacher, because some students make their subject choice on the teacher who might be choosing it, and it's sometimes that's not the best. You choose the subject before you choose a teacher. Teacher, I always say, is like the icing on the cake. Talk to anybody. Talk to friends, parents, significant others, anybody about your subject choice. Get as much information as possible, but ultimately you got to make your own mind up at the end of the day. The most important thing is to confirm with Qualifax, or even confirm with me or with somebody, that if I have a specific career in mind, if there's something I know I want to do, have I got all the bases covered in terms of subject requirements? Am I doing the language? Am I doing the laboratory science subject? Am I making sure I'm going to be getting in on honours maths and getting the grade in honours maths? So confirm whether you actually need a certain subject or a certain grade in a certain subject for what you might be looking at. Please don't panic if you're not. The vast majority of students, career choice is a long process. It's not a tick box exercise by any means. It requires a lot of thinking and reflection and a little bit of sort of hard work and an awful lot of research. And there's plenty of sixth years even at this stage of the game are in April of sixth year are still deciding or changing their minds about what they want to do. Think about the subjects that you've done well in the junior cycle. That can help you make a decision as well. And then ultimately, as I said in the second slide, that enthusiasm and interest sort of it sort of tops out on everything. So that's important as well. So there's a few misconceptions about what is an essential subject in terms of requirement for third level or for a particular career. So for example, you don't need DCG to become an architect. Useful, helpful, beneficial, but not a requirement. In fact, probably art as a subject might actually be recommended in its place. No matter what field of engineering you're going into, chemical, structural, mechanical, mechatronic, even electrician, maths is the subject you should be prioritising if that's the area you're interested in. Biology and nursing obviously go hand in hand, but maybe having chemistry might be more beneficial if you're taking on the first year of a nursing degree. You don't need accountancy to become an accountant, and you don't need a business subject to take on any business or commerce related degree. You've never needed a modern European language for primary school teaching. Some students will take it because they're taking the longer route into primary school teaching, so they do an undergraduate degree, usually arts or humanities, where there might be a language requirement, and then do the 2-year course afterwards, a professional master's in education primary. But entry requirements for that course are a level A in honours degree of any description, so you could do accounting and finance and still be eligible to apply for that course. And then lastly, what's probably most important is that most of the areas of study that students go into post-primary when they leave us probably have little or nothing to do with what's offered in secondary school. So a lot of the subject areas that they take up or the careers they go into, they're not directly related to their subject choice for leaving cert. Now, a lot of students quite rightfully complain about June, the pressure of the exams, and those sort of days where everything hinges on their sort of performance for certain exams. If you're a little bit crafty about it and you have a sort of a talent for it, then maybe looking at courses that have more of a practical element or a project component to it might alleviate some of that stress. So, for example, almost 2/3 of the arts program is finished before the final exam in June. half of construction engineering, almost half of the DCG, and then the other projects including the geography field trip, and I haven't even mentioned the orals for the language exams. So there are ways of actually alleviating some of that pressure by taking on subjects that might have a more practical or project related component. 3 obligatory subjects are English, Irish and Maths. There is no foundation level English in the Leaving Cert. Maths can be taken a higher ordinary and foundation. I put the asterisk beside the Irish because some students have an exemption from Irish. Either they took up their education after the age of 12, or perhaps they have a specific learning difficulty, most commonly dyslexia. They have that diagnosis. So any course that says that there is an Irish requirement, they will be exempt on that when they produce the documentation. So in this school we have 19 subjects in 5 different areas, and from those 5 different areas and 19 subjects you choose 4. So you have your 3 compulsory core subjects, your English, Irish and Maths, and then you pick your 4 subjects after that. So in the language area we have the most common ones are the Irish and English, followed by in popularity French, then German. We have students then will take other modern European languages. There's 2 taking Croatian this year, there's 1 taking Spanish, 2 taking Japanese, and they're usually done as an additional subject outside of school. You can pause and read through this yourself, but essentially just 3 points. Foundation level Irish not acceptable for the guards. There has been a change in the honours Irish requirement for going directly into primary school teaching, so it's a H4 now instead of the H5. And then just again a reminder that Trinity does look for 2 languages, but they would take Irish as your second language, so we've got English and Irish, you're sort of home free. And then where Limerick looks for a language in place of English, they will actually accept Irish. And again, there is no recognition for foundation level Irish, no points awarded for foundation level Irish. Okay, English is a good example of where change of level can cause an issue, because moving from honours to ordinary, most students see that as a sort of a step down, when it's probably more like a step down and to the side, in the sense that if you go from honours to ordinary, specifically in English, you might be taking up new poets, new piece of drama, so you're actually taking on probably more work than you expect. Teachers will explain this in detail to the students beforehand. Failing honours English, probably closely followed by Maths, causes the biggest issue in terms of matriculation or fulfilling entry requirements to get into colleges and courses. So keep a particular eye on the English. And then English is useful in lots of areas: journalism, speech and language therapy, psychology courses for those who applied through UCAS, gaining entry into the UK courses. Okay, lots of new business courses have a modern language as a component or a part of it, at least as sort of an optional take-up. It is required for some of the NUI colleges, your UCDs, your Maynooths, your Corks and Galway University, and there's a handful of other NUI colleges as well. You also need it if you are interested in the cadets, because that's usually done down in Galway, and Galway being an NUI college of course has a matriculation requirement for a language. Important in lots of areas including European studies, marketing, where languages sort of come in useful. Not required, so the modern European language is not required for nursing, primary school teaching, any science degree of any description, agricultural science or engineering, even at university level, technical university level. So if you're sitting there thinking that you're going to be a science head or an engineering head, then sort of modern European language is not necessary. Now you might be good at the language and use that to achieve points to get you into the science, that's fine. And you can be good at science and a language, it's just that the language is not an entry requirement. And they're trying to strip it away bit by bit. So for example, Maynooth recently got rid of the language requirement for their business and law degree. So best advice sometimes is, if you haven't taken a language up to now and you've struggled with it up to now, then sort of maybe keeping it or taking it on might not be the best advice. However, if it's a requirement for what where you're going, then you might need to struggle through with that. Okay, so we have French and German obviously available in the school, and as I said, loads of students sign up for other Leaving Cert language subjects, usually after Christmas of 6th year they can sign up for that. In the science area, you got 3 laboratory sciences: the biology, chemistry, physics, then the maths, which obviously is a pure science subject, the ag science, and then one of the options will be that there will be one of the 4 subjects, so it's not an after school subject or a sort of an additional subject, will be the applied maths. So we're keeping that in as an option. A lot of students with the applied maths seem to prefer it in the sense that it's closer to the maths programs. They probably run at third level, like maths for business, maths for science, maths for engineering. I think applied maths sometimes can be is probably a shade closer than the traditional project maths. Okay, and the laboratory science subjects, no surprises, pretty good in all the sort of health sciences, from pharmacy, physiotherapy, and nutrition. Uh, you can do science in or technology or engineering in a technical university without even having a science subject in your leaving cert. So there's always options and choices available. If you are looking at a career in human medicine or nursing or vet medicine, then chemistry and biology, preferably both, should be prioritised. That will give you the most options on the table. 2 science subjects are required for the dentistry and medicine in TCD. And if you are interested in engineering, then probably, maths obviously number 1, but prioritise the physics, followed pretty closely by by chemistry as a subject. And then biology, desirable, but not necessary if you're looking for nursing, as we said before. And home ec training down in St. Angeles, you do require still require biology, but it oftentimes gets a bit odd. So, for example, PE with biology in Dublin City University will actually accept either the other 2 laboratory science subjects, physics or chemistry. It doesn't even have to be biology. You can pick up the biology when you go in. Here's another little cheat sheet. No surprises. If you're interested in something like horticulture, agriculture, then biology should be prioritised. If you're interested in chemical engineering, medicinal chemistry, then obviously chemistry followed closely by maths. Anything in the physical sciences, including astronomy, computing, then I'll go for the physics again, closely followed by the maths. Engineering, whatever field of engineering, maths, end of story. Medical sciences, you're looking again at the chemistry, and then medicine, dentistry, again, chemistry. And then you could argue biology, physics, or physics, biology, but chemistry number 1. Okay, maths is a requirement for a great number of jobs. Most courses in business and science at university level look for at least the O3 in the maths. A good rule of thumb is that the maths requirement mirrors the content of maths in the course. So if they're looking for a high maths grade, it probably means there's a fair amount of maths in that course. Now, there's 1,600 plus courses in the CAO system, so that you'd see on the Qualifax database. 72 at the moment require honours maths. The majority of those around engineering degrees. Now, there's some business degrees in there like actuary and UCD or DCU, but it's 72 out of the 1,600. Foundation level maths is acceptable for some careers, so especially courses obviously where there's no maths involved in the course. Some employers will accept it for apprenticeships, but most employers, the first thing they will look at is English and maths. Most PLC courses will accept it unless there's a fair bit of maths in the course, like accounting technician. Not acceptable for the Gardaí. So foundation level maths, if you're interested in the Gardaí, try and stay away from it. It is acceptable for NUI colleges. You can do an arts degree, you can do music, social science, you can do a full law degree, and you can just present foundation level maths. You won't get any points for it, but will be recognised as fulfilling the maths sort of requirement. And there's a small number of courses in DCU as well that will accept foundation level maths. DCU is a little odd in the sense as well that they they see honours maths as being equivalent to applied maths. So if they're looking for a certain maths grade, they'll take it as either the applied maths or the failing that in the honours maths. Okay, 3 business subjects are accounting, business and economics. So I said earlier there's only one exception to the business rule, that's commerce and accounting in NUI Galway. They do have a requirement that you actually do accounting as a leaving cert subject, but it is not compulsory or not required for any business management or general business degree of any description at any third level college in the country at the moment. Alright, the social studies area, we've got the history, geography and art. That's probably in order of sort of popularity in the school. And music is generally taken as a subject outside of school. History, not required for anything, but helpful in the study of law, politics and journalism. Geography, again, not required for anything. However, Trinity will accept it as the H5, the honours in geography, as accepted as fulfilling the requirement for their science and pharmacy degrees, but only for their science and pharmacy degrees. UCD geography can be used as a laboratory science subject for their science or archaeology and geology programs. So there's a couple of odd things out there. I think traditionally geography was always in the science building, so it's coming from that history. Art and music, the only thing I'd say about art, I'm not an art teacher, but my experience is if you are working on a portfolio, it needs to start in 5th year, and so the earlier the better. Otherwise you're running around at this point of the year trying to get your portfolio complete. NCAD, Thomas Street, they actually have an odd thing whereby you do require a pass in the language because they're an NUI college, but they will take a pass in art as being equivalent to a pass in the language. Music at the moment is only taken outside of school. As I said, there's 2 students doing it this year. Generally music degrees might have some sort of test or audition on it, and then UL seems to have cornered the market on the most number of music variations down there in degrees, although you can do contemporary music in other colleges. Okay, now our most popular area, applied sciences. It is one area where students might not get what they're looking for. It's going to be one of these 4. Engineering, DCG, construction, and and home economics. So they're the most popular by a long shot. Home economics only required for a handful of courses. As you can see, most of those around food science or home economics teaching, which is down at Atlantic Technical University in St. Angeles. And just as just a novelty, a little bit of interest. So subjects last year that were sort of taken at higher level, the most popular was English. Almost 44,000 took English at higher level, all the way down to a little less than 9,000 taking construction studies. So that's where the popularity for last year went. I've put a link up here. It'll be on the PDF file that the students received, and it's the Subject Grade Explorer. It's from the Careers Portal website. So here's a screenshot. So if you go into it, and it's interactive, and so it's a live page. So you can click on the year. This one's 2021. This 2022 is available as well, and you could order by the highest number of H1s or the most frequently failed or whatever. And you can do a higher level, ordinary level, and you can change it by year. It's interesting. I think the students find it interesting because they find out that English is one of the most difficult subjects to get a sort of a H1 in, and followed not too far behind by construction studies. I have the impression that practical classes it's easier to gain higher grades. That's not necessarily true. And then obviously you have to sort of read this with a little common sense. So Russian, as you can see there, had the highest number of H1s last year, but obviously most of those people taking that exam, the 474 who took the exam, the majority would have had be native speakers or at least fluent in the language. I'm sorry, this is from 2021, not 2022, but it was similar last year. Now, a real-world example from NUI College, UCD, largest university in the country. If you look at architecture, you need 6 subjects to get in, so you must pass your English, Irish, and third language. Pass is either a H7 or above on an honours paper, or an 06 or above on an ordinary level paper. You also need then sort of the points, and the points last year were 555 with an asterisk. The asterisk indicates not everybody who had the 555 actually got a place. There was too many people with the 555, too few places available, and there was 57 places available in total of course. So the 57th person in had 555 points. So I put this up just to remind students there are other means of entry into other courses. So we do have the DARE scheme, which we'll speak about in the senior cycle. That's the Disability Access Route to Education. Students who might have a physical disability or a specific learning difficulty, colleges can reduce points for entry. Here is Higher Education Access Route. That's students who might be socioeconomic disadvantage. And again, colleges can reduce points and offer additional supports sort of post-entry. There's lots of courses where graduate entries, not on this page, but for example like medicine, pharmacy, you can actually get into that if you've got another degree. It's an option for some people. Mature entries over the age of 23, progression routes, in other words, maybe doing architectural technology in one college and then trying to transfer to architecture in UCD. And then QQI, which is basically the FETAC route, so that's the further education and training. That's the routes from the PLC colleges. And some of the PLC colleges are very successful at that. I think 90% of the students from Dunboyne last year actually made it into a sort of accepted into a college course. All right, next one, no surprise. Anybody's been reading a newspaper or seeing information online, we're basically essentially at full employment, I suppose, at the moment. And there's a huge number of areas where there's under recruitment. They just can't find enough graduates to fill the position, so there's no surprise, especially in the traditional trades. At the moment, electricians, well, there's mechanics, I suppose, plasters, painters, everybody's in short supply at the moment. A lot of the engineering fields are suffering a couple of shortages. Sales reps, business to business, business to customers, teachers, primary and secondary level. I saw Australia was advertising for Irish teachers there recently. Healthcare, we're all getting older. Transport and logistics, even drivers. So there's huge gaps in the Irish workforce at the moment. The students, if they were savvy about getting into certain areas, there's certainly going to be lots of job opportunities available. Okay, so to sum up, do the research. Actually think about yourself, your own talents, skills, abilities, preferences, and make a decision based on that. Talk to as many people as possible about what they've done and why they've done it. Get as much information, then make up your mind when you've got the information. Ultimately, select your best 6 for points. The Leaving Cert is a points race, and it's based on your best 6 subjects. So doing the subjects that you feel will maximise your points. More points means more choice, simple as that. If you do have a specific career in mind, now bear in mind I've already said that a lot of students at this point don't, some do, most who even do will at some point probably change their mind. But if there is something specific that you're interested in, there's no harm in going to Qualifax, doing a little bit of legwork and just researching that you've got it in black and white in front of you. This is what I need if I'm interested in this area. Now if a student does make a mistake, come September, if they're in physics and realise it's the biggest mistake they ever made, there is some leeway to rectify that. But there are limits on class sizes. You can have 20 in home economics, 24 in a practical class, 30 in a class after that. So if there's nowhere to move someone, there is nowhere to move someone. But if somebody does make a mistake and it's a possibility that we can jig them around a bit, that's fine. But the timeline of that runs out pretty fast. As we discussed, or at least I discussed, there's no such thing as the easy and hard subjects. What's easy to you is difficult for someone else, and so forth. So just don't fall into the trap of thinking about that. It is all about the points, as I keep on saying at the end of the day. And you saw the difference between your 06s and your H1s. There's massive points differences. So where possible, start with as many and keep as many honours subjects as possible. Some students can manage 7, 8 without breaking a sweat. Some students will struggle to do 1, but keep as many honours as you can. Don't totally depend on teachers actually teaching the subject, because there's no guarantee that teacher actually might be there the next year. Okay, so as I keep saying, teacher is the icing on the cake. That's fine, but don't choose a subject based on your rapport with the teacher. I mean, teachers are important, but for subject choice it can be a bit not the best decision. And then finally, the Leaving Cert is a full-time 2-year course. If you slack off in 5th year, you will be paying the price in 6th year. So if you fall behind in 5th year, you're going to be playing catch-up in 6th year. That's the way it works. I think some students suffer a bit of shock when they find out that everything they covered in 5th year is not going to be covered again, automatically in 6th year. So it is a full-time course. It's designed for the average student over 2 years to get the average results. So working from day one, making an effort from day one, and putting your best effort in from day one is very, very important. Again, talk to students, talk to teachers. They're the professionals in the room. They probably have more information about their particular area than anybody else. If you want, borrow a copy of a textbook. You can find out from flicking through 10 minutes in a textbook the standard of work that might be required, the areas that you'll be looking at as part of the subject. And then lastly, if you're a real go-getter, you can have a look at the Leaving Cert exam papers. That usually gives you a fairly concise account of what is looked for in a particular subject in terms of examinations. So it's a quick hard shock in finding out where you need to be over a 2-year period. Now, as AI is becoming a big thing in education, I tried a little experiment. I asked for a list of questions to help 3rd years with subject choices, and this is what I got, 15. It's a bit scary in the sense that it's probably better than what I would have come up with. So it's an interesting little list. You can pause, have a look through, but there's nothing on that I would disagree with. I think it's actually fairly well sort of formulated list of questions that a student could actually go through. And then finally, if you have any questions, the email on the page in front of you will come directly to my desk, so you can get me at any point. The students have been asked a number of times that if they need to get in contact with me, that I'm sort of available via chat. That's usually the quickest and easiest way that people can get to me. Okay, so I hope this has been as concise and as quick as I can manage. If any questions, get back to me, and thank you for your time.